त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापि नवक्षोरुहा पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं घटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम्। सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रह नक्षत्र दोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी प्रमथम विद्ये माले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नं विध्वंसय विध्वंसय
Namaste and Suprabhatam. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all for this global festival of yoga. Today is our second day and we are delighted to bring you the best of the teachers from the yoga community from across the world. And today we have with us Shri Subba Vaidyanathan ji. Namaste Subba ji.
Namaste Vinay ji. Namaste Suprabhat.
Suprabhatam. Subba ji is an experienced mindfulness practitioner and a corporate leader who left his executive leadership role after 3 decades of corporate life to focus on preparing leaders in organizations for a fast-changing world. He had a background in engineering and banking, so he knew where to invest. He has a deep personal practice of yoga and meditation spanning 20 years. His 15 years of annual practice of silence and solitude has been the source of many programs that he runs today. He's also trained in Vedic chanting, in the chanting of the sutras and the Upanishads. He has worked extensively as a corporate leader in Asia and in the Middle East and brings into the program his personal experience of integrating mindfulness practice into high pressure corporate life. In addition to being the co-founder of Being Sattva, a beautiful retreat center in Bali, he is also the founder of Being, a mindfulness-based program that empowers people to live their best. In fact, this is the core principle of his work, to empower people, and you'll get to know more about him as you hear him. So, Subhaji, I leave it to you from this point onwards, and I request all the participants to make note of your questions, and at the end, we'll have a dedicated question answer segment, perhaps for 10-15 minutes at the end. Subhaji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vinayji. Thank you all wonderful people from around the world for your presence today. These are very special times. And before we start today, I wanted to say that, I've been running a meditation series and I committed to the global community to run it for 108 days. Today is day 96. And through every day, I find a deeper connection with everybody we are, for the first time in the world, we are all going through the same thing at the same time. There is no difference, whether it's in which country we are, what our race is, what our social standing is, what our age is, nothing matters. We are all going through, in different ways, the same world. In the context of that, what does yoga guide us with? That's what we want to experience today. The wisdom of the master, Patanjali. So I am only here as a messenger of the great masters behind me. So whatever they guide me to speak with you, that's what I will share. Let's begin with a prayer to our gurus. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Requesting their presence and their blessings and their guidance amongst all of us this morning. Let's begin with an invocation to the master of the morning, Patanjali. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram munina patanjalim pranjaliranutoasmi. So in all my sessions, I start with a reminder to myself, because by being present with all of you, I am also learning. And a reminder to all of us that in the ancient scriptures, we have a 3-step process of absorbing the wisdom. Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. So, there will be many things which are said today, some of which we will listen to, some of which we may not get. It's okay. Amongst all that we listen to, a few things will touch our heart. Aha, Manana. And amongst all that touches our heart, there will be one or two things which we will want to bring into our lives. Nididhyasana. If we follow this principle, it is amazing that every session that we attend will be transformative to our lives because the wisdom is so pure and so powerful. Today, I will try to share with you the wisdom of one sutra, the romance of it, the science of it, and how to bring this into our life today, just after this session, not tomorrow, not day after, just after the session, what you can do. So the famous sutra, of course, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, contextualizes what the school of philosophy of yoga is all about. One of the 6 major schools of philosophy and the science of the mind and spirituality. In this school, yoga is equal to samadhi. At least in the context of the sutras, yoga is equal to samadhi. Yuja samadho, being united with our authentic self, swarupa, so that we feel established in that self. And in these times, when we talk of anger, anxiety, fear, violence, racism, exclusion, being established in ourselves, if each of us can just be that in this world, it's a dream, what we call next normal or new normal. The universe has given us an opportunity to rethink the life that we have been leading. Everyone wants to go back to that normal, but the universe is telling us, think and create the next normal. It's an opportunity given to us. So what is samadhi or yuj samadho or union? Let's spend just 5 minutes in meditation now. And in that process, touch that samadhi and see how that feels. So let's sit comfortably with our spine erect but our neck and shoulders relaxed. Gently take your attention to the top of your head, to the back of your head, the back of your neck, your shoulder blades and upper back, your middle back, lower back, your hips, the whole of your left leg, the whole of your right leg, the whole of your left arm, the whole of your right arm, your pelvis, your abdomen, your chest, your face, your whole body. Experience the body. the divine creation, where all the organs are functioning with no effort, where the blood is flowing effortlessly, where the nerves are communicating effortlessly. All kept alive by our prana, life force, performing its various functions. The billions of cells in our body talking to each other, communicating with wisdom and intelligence given to him by our prana. The various thoughts and emotions floating in this universe all guided by that awareness that exists within, that consciousness that exists within. Spontaneously feel that at the center of your chest. Take a soft breath in. And in full awareness, Purna Prajna, gently open your eyes. Let's bow down to our divine self that exists within each of us. Patanjali presents to us three paths to experience the samadhi more frequently, more intensely. Of course, samadhi itself is a whole topic. I just wanted you to touch the rainbow today. He talks of Abhyasa Vairagya, the two-step path. Abhyasa with Vairagya for the Uttama Adhikari or the advanced practitioner. Kriya Yoga for the Madhyama Adhikari, the three-step path of Kriya Yoga. And the eight-step path of Ashtanga Yoga for the Adhama Adhikari. Most of us are beginners. So that's why we all go for the Ashtanga Yoga. But today, I wanted to speak to you about Kriya Yoga, the three-step path. Because in my experience, I have used this three-step path a lot during very stressful times, whether it's the global financial crisis or whether I have had some challenging questions to answer for myself. I have used three-step path of Kriya Yoga. This is what we will focus on today. Let me give you a taste of the sutra and then we will explore it. Tapas swadhyaya Ishvara pranidhanani Kriya yoga samadhi bhavanartah kleshatanu karanartascha. The first and second sutras of the second chapter, describing Kriya Yoga and also elucidating its what it does and how it gets us into a state of samadhi. It gets us, the second sutra says, it gets you into a state of samadhi by dissolving your kleshas. So it is always important to understand where we are to chart the path to our destination. It is always important to understand the black or the gray to understand the value of white. So that's why we will start with what is klesha. Kleshas, to put it very simply in today's terminology, which we all understand, is the root of stress. It's not the stress, but is the root of the stress. One layer below. So if you double click on stress and ask, why am I feeling stressed? Kleshas will show up. So there are 5 kleshas, but I will put them very simply to you because today we don't have the time to explore the kleshas themselves. I call them addictions, aversions, and accumulation. Addiction, aversion, and accumulation. These are the kleshas that all of us hold. I will give you a very simple example of accumulation. It's not even it's not a personal example either, in the sense that we all have a tendency to hoard. But I will give you another spiritual example of this, where there are many teachers who want to guard their set of students very closely. They're very scared that if they share their name, their email address with anyone else, that they will lose their students. You get what I mean, right? So accumulation exists in this world in various forms. And that is the root of stress, because it gives us insecurity that we will lose something. Aversion towards people and aversion towards situation. I will give you a personal example, you will understand that. I lost my dad, I'm the only child, when I was just 14. And my mom and me grew up in difficult situation. My mother started to work. At that time, my dad was a professor in IIT Madras, and they were kind enough to give my mother a job and a small house for us to stay. It was a big downgrade for us, but in this time, my mother would only draw a salary of 800 rupees per month. So such an event, if it recurs in my life, we call it trauma. We have an aversion for such events. We also have aversion for certain type of people or even certain people. Addiction, whether it's towards food, whether it's towards events, experiences, people. Raga, that's what Patanjali calls it, addiction. We want to keep repeating the same thing, even if it's abuse of our body or abuse of our mind. So in Kriya Yoga, what is the formulation given to dissolve this? 3 steps given to dissolve this. That's what we will explore now. Tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishvara pranidhana. To make this very real for yourself, I want to ask you to just mentally ask yourself a question. When you move into your next normal or new normal, let's say the world has no COVID anymore. In that new world, what is that one thing you wish to change about yourself? It could be an addiction, it could be an aversion, it could be a tendency to accumulate, something that is blocking you. I'm not generally criticizing people's tendencies here, and we don't try to change everything in one go. It's very hard. Pick one thing so that today's session is meaningful for you. Remind yourself of that something that is obstructing your progress towards spirituality, towards living an authentic life. Or you can just simply say towards living a happy life. Having thought of it, let's get on the journey now. So first, let's talk of the first step, tapas. Tapas is often seen as abstinence or penance. Go to the Himalayas and sit in meditation. One example. Or stand on one leg, another example. Different types of tapas. In Sadashiva Brahmendra's work, Yoga Sudhakara, he refers to tapas purely in the context of food, which is so real. He says 3 principles. Eat according to your body type, eat in moderation, and eat food which has good prana. 3 things. Your body type as per Ayurveda, the 7 body types. Second, eat in moderation. Leave some space after you eat, maybe a third. So eat up to your 2/3 full or 3/4 full. And most importantly, eat food which has good prana. So even if you're cooking at home, we don't put our anger and fears into the food when we cook it. Vyasa extends this to speech in Vyasa Bhashi. I call tapas is a very powerful tool for us to regain control of the mind, the instrument which is the mind. Instead of being a slave of the mind, tapas gives us power back to us, gives the power back to us. How you gets you the power. So when I used to stay, I was sharing, I was in IIT, right? So one of the examples I remember is once in a year, there is an in-gate and out-gate into the campus. They will close the in-gate and say everybody has to go in and out to the out-gate. So I used to wonder what's going on. So you say this is IIT exercising its rights over its property, saying I will open and close my gates whenever I want. Question is, are we exercising our rights over our mind? Are we telling our mind, I will tell you what to do when? You will not tell me what to do. Are we exercising our rights over our mind? Or are we being the slave of our mind? Tapas is us regaining freedom to choose. Our freedom and will to choose. And again, remember I said, don't try to do this for everything. The most important thing, that thing that is bothering you the most, that is impeding your progress, apply tapas. It is also what we call pause. For a minute, when this person shows up and triggers you, don't say anything. Just pause. Whatever they may do or say to you, don't say. Just pause. Don't respond to the WhatsApp. Pause. Don't respond to the email. Pause. All of that, the pause is always almost a tapas, because it's so hard to hold ourselves back in action and speech. That is how it is manifested. I have a practice where once a week, I observe tapas. In what way? I will not criticize anyone. I cannot express that criticism, even if it comes up in my mind. That is a tapas. Just try it. It's very powerful. Because in that process of not criticizing or not expressing, you will become aware of what is bothering you. What is that klesha? What is that addiction, aversion, accumulation, tendency to accumulate that is bothering you? Truly what needs to change within comes up when you observe tapas. When you observe a fast, food fast, the same thing comes up. Your addictions come up. So in these days, it is important for us to observe that. Vinayji spoke about my 15 years of practice. So every year between Christmas and New Year, I lock myself up. I don't communicate with the world. Nobody communicates with me. I am just my own best friend. It's a vacation with myself. That is my tapas. I meditate. I just be with myself. I am very careful about food. Only once a day, sattvic food. That is also tapas. So you can construct your own tapas in the context of the issue that you just, I asked you to think of some issue that's disturbing you. In that context, think of what you should stop. Don't stop forever. Stop for one day. See what comes up. Stop for a few moments. See what comes up. Stop for 1 week. See what comes up. Stop for 1 month. See what comes up. Right? It will tell you what needs to change. What is that klesha inside you which you need to shift? The power of tapas is phenomenal. In one of our recent famous psychologists, Viktor Frankl, says, between stimulus and response lies our power to choose. Only if there is space between. The space between is created by tapas. Only then you will have the power to choose. But how do you choose? What is the basis on which you choose? Swadhyaya. See how beautifully Patanjali has constructed this. The sequence is so perfect. First, you have to pause. Only then Swadhyaya comes into place. What happens in Swadhyaya? First, you have to, our phone, it reminds us all the time to upgrade the OS. And we keep saying later, later. We have to upgrade this OS. There are some great texts, great wisdom. The Yoga Sutra itself. Be with that text. Study that text. Study one sutra for 1 week. Even for 1 month. That is how we upgrade our operating system. We upgrade our knowledge so that the choice of how we shift is made with a higher level of knowledge, not the same level of knowledge. Sadashiva Brahmendra says you don't have to worry about any knowledge. Just sit there and chant Omkara. That itself will upgrade your knowledge. Because it upgrades our whole vibration. It is our connection with the divine. However you choose to upgrade your knowledge, whatever works for you, it is important. Otherwise, we will get the same decision, the same words again and again. So if you want to shift something inside, if you want to dissolve that klesha inside, first step is tapas. Next step, upgrade your knowledge. It may be in various ways that you do it, but upgrade your knowledge. But while upgrading that knowledge, you apply that medicine of that knowledge to your klesha. Be non-judgmental. Do not criticize yourself. Understand yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be your best friend. Don't be your worst enemy. The reason why we struggle to be with ourselves is that we are always criticizing ourselves. We are just so scared to sit down doing nothing. That is why we always want to watch the phone or watch TV or speak to someone. Or at least read a book. Right? In these times of lockdown, everybody has so much time, but everybody just wants to watch Netflix or to get back and talk to someone or continuously check your WhatsApp, or even if it's fake news, it's okay. Golden opportunity to understand yourself better, to understand your kleshas, to understand what you need to shift, to become stronger, to become closer to the divine, to grow in spiritual practice. Swadhyaya. In my days, every year, these days, last 5 years, I've been doing this. I have a conversation with my fears. I ask my fears to come and sit down in the room with me, and I talk to them. I have a conversation. I ask them, so why did I invite you? What did I ask you to do for me? What did I ask you to protect me from? I have this conversation with my fears. And through that, I humanize the fear. I don't demonize the fear. You can do it. Very powerful. Find your own way to do this because it's your knowledge. Once you upgrade it, the answer will come to you. So at this moment, you'll become aware of what klesha you need to shift if you need to make that change in your life. That is what happens in Swadhyaya. You accept yourself. You accept this klesha as part of you. So many years ago, I told you what happened when I was 14 years old. So 10 years ago, my biggest concern is fear of money. I will not have enough money. I will go back to those days when I was a child, when we were struggling. That is my klesha. That is my reason of tendency to accumulate. You understand how this is connected with our life and how this stops our spiritual journey, our progression. So 2 steps, tapas, swadhyaya. We move to Ishvara pranidhana. Ishvara pranidhana is such a beautiful concept. It is the most repeated concept in the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, repeated 4 times. And he is defined who is Ishvara. Someone who is timeless, who was there even before time. A sarvajnani, the source of knowledge and the source and the container of universal knowledge. A person who lives light, no klesha, no karma, untouched, pure. Such is Ishvara. And you beckon this person with a simple phrase, which we did today, and requested his presence or her presence. O or Omkara. Ishvara pranidhana is very important because to surrender to this Vishesha Purusha is so important. To the divine is so important. To the universe is so important because if we have to make a shift, we have to understand what our intention is. Where are we going? From here to there. From black, we are going to white. If we need to know the direction in which we need to go, we need to set it based on Ishvara pranidhana. Take divine guidance in setting that direction. Become an instrument of the divine. See ourselves as part of the whole, just like we did in our meditation just now, rather than distinct from the other. that can happen only when we realize the divinity within. And I always ask people when they say they want to make a shift, and when they write this new world of theirs, I ask them, if today Ishvara is present in front of you, can you look Ishvara in the eye and read this to Ishvara? Will Ishvara say, I bless you because you're doing my work? That is an acid test of Ishvara pranidhana. So when you make that shift, ask yourself that question. Am I being in service of the divine to whom I surrender? That is how we have purity of intention. So I just want to bring this together for you so that we have some time to interact. So focus on what's bothering you. Apply tapas, your freedom not to do anything, not to say anything. In that pause emerges your wisdom. Upgrade your wisdom, swadhyaya, and through that upgrading, understand what is it that you need to shift. Is it addiction? Is it aversion? Or is it accumulation that you need to shift in order to progress in life, in order to progress on your spiritual journey? Whatever is important to you. And then surrender to the divine and set your intentions. I wanted to give you a very small example of this before I finish. For 2 years, I have been wanting to bring the message of the sutras through music to many practitioners around the world. There are hundreds of millions of practitioners who have not been touched by the wisdom of the great master because they find it very difficult and very distant. I want to make it accessible. But in order for them to get curious about the message, I wanted it to be delivered through music so that it will touch their heart, open their heart, and then the meaning comes later. The intellect follows the heart. The mind follows the heart. On this journey, in January this year, I met with a doctor, musician, friend of mine. I was seeing her after many years, Dr. Varsha Narayan. We just spoke about this project like I speak to any musician I meet, because that's what is going on in my head. The beauty of it is, in this period of lockdown, where no musician met any other, in this period of lockdown, where no artists met each other, this music happened. And this is, according to me, divine grace, Ishvara pranidhana. Nothing is of my action. It's just pure blessing. And even the video that I shared with Vinayji, no two people on that video, yogis or yogins on that video, met each other. They just sent all their videos and we put it together for International Yoga Day. And ICCR brought it to 125 countries. I did not even dream of this. I didn't even know this was going to happen even 2 weeks ago. That is the act of the divine, of Ishvara. This power comes to us when our mind and heart are fully open. I will now request Vinayji to play that song for you to see how it is, because it is meant to make it very simple and accessible. I just want you to experience it.
We'll go for it, Subhaji, now. Yeah. Srinivasji, can you please play the video?
योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा दृष्टुस्वरूपे अवस्थानम् अथ योगानुशासनम् योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा दृष्टुस्वरूपे अवस्थानम्
Yoga
Thank you, Vinayji. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
hope you
Subhaji.
enjoyed.
Yes, thank you for this wonderful session and as well as the video touching the spirit of yoga. So we'll open up for questions now.
Sure.
So we have first question in the practice. When we begin the practice, you said we'll touch the samadhi in 5 minutes. So the question is, 5 minutes to touch the samadhi. Is it possible, and how? What do you mean by that?
So is it possible and how? It's because we had some preparation today. Honestly, because first of all, we invoked the presence of our gurus, the presence of our teacher. And then in this process of what we did, I just wanted us to experience being united within ourselves, across all our koshas, and experience that divinity when everything which is on the outside is crystal clear or colorless. So that's a very simple practice for 5 minutes. If we can do that every day, it will help us to connect with that consciousness within us.
The next question is about Kriya Yoga. In the Yoga Sutra, we come across the term Kriya Yoga, which you brought about so beautifully. And there is also a practice called Kriya Yoga practice from the Paramahamsa Yogananda tradition. Yes. So are they one and the same, or are they different? Would you like to explain it a little more, please?
Of course, these days we have Paramahamsa Yogananda's tradition. Of course, we have the Kriya Yoga tradition. We also have many other Kriyas which are there in today's teachers also. I don't want to name them, but I think all of you know. Each teacher has their own set of practice, which they call as a sequence, or their, what shall I say, their magic formula, which they call as their Kriya, their daily practice. And their objectives are all different. And if you see, contextualize it, in the context of Patanjali's work, it is all about getting you to a state of chitta vritti nirodha. Getting your chitta vrittis to a state of nirodha, rather, so that you reach samadhi. Whereas the objectives, whether it's in Hatha Yoga practice or Kundalini Yoga practice and all of that, which are based on Tantric Yoga practice, which are taught by various teachers, there are also a number of Kriyas in each one of them. So what is being taught in either Paramahamsa Yogananda school or Isha or in Art of Living and all of those, there are a variety of Kriyas which are present today. They are all based on those schools. Whereas here, in the context of the sutras, it is, you must link it back to bringing you to a state of yoga using chitta vritti nirodha.
Thank you very much for that clarification. We also have a question on talking with the fears that you mentioned, humanizing the fears. So can you elaborate that process a little more, and how do you do it?
Okay, it's a very powerful process. I would strongly recommend that if you're able to do this yourself. So first of all, do it by writing. Why? Because if you try to process this in the head, it will make you go crazy. So first write your question to your fear. Give the fear a name. So as I said, if it's a fear of money, like I had experienced a few years ago, then I would ask, I give him a name. Let's say I give him a name called money bag. So I say, money bag, how come you're here again? So then he will respond, and what job did I give you? So he would say, I came here to protect you against some crazy choices that you're making. What crazy choices am I making? Then the money bag will respond, saying that you are taking these choices and it could put you in a very difficult situation. Oh, is it? So you have a conversation with them by writing it down in this manner. But normally what happens is, I will ask further questions like, when did I ask you to come? Do you remember what exactly did I tell you to protect me against? So I ask deeper questions and challenging questions of the fear as I feel more comfortable with it. And through that process, I get to understand what is underlying that fear. And therefore, I'm able to then make a choice and say, okay, can you just stay away for a week? Can you take a weekend off? Can you take a day off? So I'm able to then have a conversation and say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for being in my life. And can you take a few days off? I want to try something different.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting tip that you have given, and I am sure many of our participants will try it out. And if they have any feedback, comments, or they need more guidance, they can get back to you on that.
Sure.
And also, while explaining the tapas, you actually brought it out into smaller practices, some smaller, simpler practices, like doing the pause. Would you like to elaborate a little more on these such smaller practices of tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishvara pranidhana?
Sure. So one of the practices which I talk about very often on tapas is the simple process of, during this lockdown, I have taken a simple tapas. I will only eat home cooked food. I will only have one big meal a day. So this is my tapas, which I have been observing for 2 months. What happens through that? I am eating food consistent with my body because I can cook according to what my body type is. I know I'm predominantly vata pitta. So according to that, the food can be made. Second, I'm eating in moderation, only one big meal a day. Third is I am able to, through this, understand what cravings I have. What kind of cravings I have in food. So, and therefore I can understand what are the underlying thing. And therefore in future, even when I'm traveling or when I'm eating outside, I can make a conscious choice whether I am going to allow the craving into my life or not. So the tapas leading to the swadhyaya, which leading to a little bit upgrade of my knowledge and my actions.
Thank you. So we have the last question. How do we, or what tips can you give for us during the job? Like, how do we bring this learning into the job where it is highly vulnerable and stressed?
So I will give you a simple example and then you may understand what it is, right? So one of the situations in my work, it was about 7 years ago. I was in a bank. Most of my thing has been in a high pressure banking world. And we had a situation with the banking regulator, the central bank, who had given us a sanction letter for something that we did not do right. And that kind of personally affected me because I was the leader who was running that business. I could have done a few things. I could have blamed somebody else for it. Or I could have applied tremendous pressure on someone else to get it done and to clean up, do the cleanup process. I took one full day to think about it. And then when I reflected on it, I did a few things different. I wrote down who I should work with to solve the problem. I took 100% responsibility myself. And then I went and communicated with each of those important people openly on what the issue was. And took their advice and make them part of the team so that we could embark on solving the problem. Most importantly, I kept them all updated on how we were progressing. Now, what is this? That one day was a pause. The second is to upgrade my knowledge at that time to say, let me engage others and not see them as adversaries or enemies who are trying to get me, but as make them part of the team so that they're able to support my journey. And to set the intentionality here was we needed to make sure that we did the thing which was right by the customer, right by our people, and right by the regulation. Not to hide things, but to do it openly. So it took me 6 months to get it done. It was a very high pressure project, but at no point of time did I feel the pressure. At no point of time did I have sleepless nights, because I had an open system of communication at that time. I hope that helped.
I think so, yes. And there's one last question that has come up now. You shared a lot about it. What you brought from Yoga Sutra was simple daily practices. So would you suggest any more like this? How Yoga Sutra can be, made into smaller portions and brought into practice in day-to-day living? Any other tips?
So yesterday I was speaking about the Brahma Viharas. And in that, there's a particular one which I think is very difficult to practice, but we all have to be aware. Upeksha. That something good is happening on the outside, it's okay, you can be delighted by it. When something not good or not so good is happening on the outside, how do you respond? We are all very happy to blame someone, to scream at that person, to be reactionary in that. So I did a practice 2 weeks ago to work with people in the US who are affected by the racist violence which is going on. And I told them in that practice that if someone comes and presses your button, the power for you to choose lies in not reacting, but to be detached, so that you choose your way of responding. So upeksha is that it's being detached does not mean I don't care. Being detached means giving yourself the power to choose. So when you consume social media, when you consume mainstream media, when you consume all the news that's hammering away today's world, use upeksha so that stay detached, so that it gives you the power to choose.
I think this was a wonderful point and one of the most important lessons for our times now. And maybe with this, we will bring this session to an ending. Thank you, Subbaji, for this wonderful session, bringing out the wisdom of Yoga Sutra in a lucid yet very simple manner, and also allowing to see how it can touch and impact our daily lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subha. This is Hari. How are you? Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you, Hariji. Thank you.
I loved your video.
Such a beautiful. I have left on the chat my email address. So if any one of you wants to contact, it's subba@beingsattva.com.sg. You can contact Vinayji also, but it's there. And the music is that Being with Subba on my YouTube channel. You should be able to connect there. Thank you all very much for your kind comments here. Very nice to be connected here with the beautiful comments and your presence. And yes, Dr. Jayaprakash Gupta, I'll be very happy to take up your suggestion in any which way you think it appropriate.
Yes. Thank you, Subbaji. And I also like to thank all our participants who were here from 7 for this beautiful session. Thank you, each one of you. I'd also like to remind you of the afternoon and the evening sessions we have. In the noon, we have a practice session led by Dr. Kuldeep, Dr. Kuldeep will take us through what he calls it as essential hatha stretches. Simple yet deep practices which will help us to understand our body better and gain its flexibility. That is a session from 11:30 to 12:30 noon. And in the evening, we have a session on integral well-being by Sri Shraddhalu Ranadeji, who is a very well-known educator from Sri Aurobindo Ashram Pondicherry. So I hope to see you all in the sessions that follow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Om Shanti.